definition of temporary employee is that because there's a CalPERS implication, temporary employees cannot work more than 1,000 hours in a fiscal year, or else they'll be under the benefits for CalPERS. So
okay.
I'm okay with making the definitions more concise. I think the definitions are accurate that you provided, but I would remove casual and project employee, and then
Add the 1,000 hours for temporary.
exactly. So if the board is okay with that, I can make those changes.
Well, so we're gonna do away with regular full-time, regular part-time?
So the way he set it up is that he has a regular employee, and then he has full-time employee, and he has part-time employee. So at some point we can combine them, right? So he just has them differentiated separately.
How's it different from what we have? I'm confused. I
Each
we have a
The
regular-
part-time employee is defined as is at least 20 hours, but not more than, or less than 40, but at least 20.
Why?
Well, ACA for one reason.
So you can't.
It's illegal. Well, she just said that the state requires anybody, it's just more of a definition if 25 hours was an issue. I thought that would address that.
Oh, I see. I think that was just based on benefits, wasn't it?
It's just based on benefits, yeah.
Okay. These are suggestions too. I'm not saying that it has to be this way, but you know, I've spent some time on this and read and did some research, and I think that it needs a tune-up. I think we can all agree on that.
I think it is important though in the probationary employee section to make clear, because I think we had issues with this before we became council, was whether or not probationary employees are able to use vacation and sick leave. So that's why that language is written as written, to make it clear that they can accrue vacation, but they can't use it until their probationary period is, or use after, I guess after 6 months. They can use vacation after 6 months of being in the district.
That's for vacation. What about sick leave?
Sick leave, under California law, they're entitled to use it after the 90th day of employment.
Right, okay.
I have a question about all that actually. Because we also mentioned defining it under state laws. How far do districts have to follow state laws? Because I'm not mistaken, there was a court case, Johnson versus Oregon Edison Water Storage District, that says that municipalities don't have to follow state labor laws.
So under the FLSA, there are the Fair Labor Standards Act, there are some certain provisions that the district is not required to follow as a municipality. For the most part, we still advise to follow those things. So like one of the big things that we tell you guys not to follow is like the last paycheck, like the last day of employment. Under the FLSA, an employer is required to provide an employee their last paycheck, and if they don't, then there's penalties that accrue. The district isn't covered under that. So if the district doesn't provide the last paycheck to its employee on the final day, the employee can't come back and sue the district for penalties. That's one of the things. Another issue I think is the meal breaks. The district isn't required under FLSA to provide paid meal breaks, which other employers are required to. So there's certain carve-out provisions for municipalities, but it's not all of the labor standards.
California doesn't follow state labor.
Yeah.
Do you think that down the road that it would be maybe advantageous for us to add a casual employee classification? Maybe not a project employee, or well, I don't know. I can see reason for that, but I think with the casual employee, you get a little bit more of a chance. You know, if you need to hire somebody in a seasonal basis.
We can add, I think Daryl used what you're calling a casual employee in a temporary classification, where they would come in for 3 months at a time or on a project basis. So for me, that would just be a temporary employee hired for a specific reason. In other agencies that we represent, if they have parks or pools, they have seasonal employees. They have the kids coming out there in the summer to be lifeguards for 3 months. If you guys think at some point down the line that we want to add seasonal employees, because during the winter time Kelly needs more help with the water treatment plant or something, then we can do that also.
Elves for Christmas.
That is although I agree with Blaine, I don't know that casual employee and project employees is really appropriate right now. When we start the process of redefining the job descriptions and the positions for the utilities, a seasonal employee is going to be included in that for summertime maintenance of the treatment plant. So that probably should come back when we bring that back
Yeah.
For inclusion at that point.
Okay. Anything else in section 2?
So I just want to get direction. Are we going to adopt director parents definitions with my suggested changes, or are we going to keep the definitions as written?
I like I can't speak for everybody, I'm okay with the definitions we have. There were a couple of points that he pointed out though, that you made comment about as well, that we obviously should change. Anybody else?
That's one. I have two opinions. I have Director Perrin and Director Green. I need other opinions so we can get proper direction.
I also have a question.
Do you have a, okay.
Where would, what's an intern, what classification does an intern fall
We
under?
don't have an intern.
Right.
If we were to add an intern classification, it would be a separate
Probationary.
one.
Mhm.
You guys have an opinion either way?
Go ahead.
I like it how it's like written right here, but I do like director parents for the part-time, adding the at least working the 20 hours and no more than 40. For at least the part-time.
Well, but if you change that without adding another classification, then you're limited to have part-time employees work at least 20 hours. Whereas if you wanted to hire somebody for 2 days a week, you wouldn't be able to.
No, you would as a temporary employee.
If it was at least 20 hours,
Yeah, so I
if you
think what
define
Dr.
it-
Palafox is saying is that you can't hire a part-time employee who works less than 20 hours a week.
And
So-
that's where I think casual employee falls into that, because if you have casual labor situation, you need somebody less than 20, then they're a casual laborer, and they're working
For me,
10
I would
hours a day
classify them
or something like that.
I
That's
would-
the
I
reason
would
I included
classify-
casual.
I'm sorry, Helene, what?
I would classify that as a temporary employee, where we would say,
Alright.
Helene's gonna come in 2 days a week, working 10 hours a week. That's a temporary employee to me.
So
But
we're not
I
gonna
mean,
put the 20 hours in there, right?
We could under part-time.
I think it's actually not a bad suggestion. That way we say that if somebody works less than 20 hours, that they're not part-time.
I'm talking
They're
about
just-
part-time employees.
So you have a regular part-time.
So less than 20, you would say, would fall under temporary employee. Okay, got it.
So we'll leave the definitions as is, but I'll add the less than 20 hours. Well, I guess that's what Director Palafox was saying.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
any other comments? So like we get clear direction.
I agree with that.
So,
Do you agree with it?
yeah. Director Sangster, did you have any comment?
No, I agree. I think that streamlining the definitions, I think, is beneficial. I think qualifying the part-time to 20 to less than 40 hours a week is also beneficial.
You got it.
Okay, what else? Anything else in section 2, Director?
So we have consensus on
Yes,
section
we'll change it.
2.1 to,
We're modifying the temporary versus part-time. It's being done as we speak.
Okay.
The purpose of this is, by the end of the night, hopefully we all agree and we can adopt. Did you have anything else in section 2?
2.2, selection and hiring. Again, it's replacement of language. 2.2, it's listed recruitment. I suggest calling it selection and hiring. 2.2.1, vacant positions procedures. Vacant positions may be filed by the general manager by any of the following procedures. A, appointment of qualified present employees of Smcsd without announcement. B, appointment of qualified present employees of the CSD following announcement. Appointment following announcement and open or promotional examination. 2.2.2, vacancy announcements. Applications for vacant positions which are subject to open or promotional examination shall be solicited by public announcements posted in a manner at locations as determined by the general manager or his designee. And I know you guys don't like that language. The announcement shall specify the title and pay range for the position class, the nature of the work to be performed, minimum and desirable qualifications, manner of making applications, closing date for receiving applications, examination required, and other pertinent information. Advertisements with or without the foregoing information may be placed for recruitment purposes. 223, examination and selection. Testing selection procedures may include written, oral, and/or performance procedures. All examinations shall be conducted by or arranged for by the general manager or his designee. Offers of employment may be made only by the general manager or his designee. I guess I'm giving a lot of power to the general manager here.
That's
Offers-
fine, but the designee, I don't think should have those authorities. But continue. Just
Well,
my
the
opinion.
general manager might not know what we need in certain aspects, but I guess that's just a matter of conferencing.
Right.
Offers are made based on applicants' qualifications, experience, references, examination results, comments by interviewers, and all other relevant information, including information obtained from the employment application. When relevant, applicants may be asked to pass a medical examination, the results of which will be treated as confidential medical record and will be used only to evaluate the applicant's physical or mental ability to perform job-related functions. The Smcsd only will be informed of determination of fitness to perform the particular job. The offer of employment will be conditioned on a determination that the applicant is medically fit to perform the job and can perform it without endangering the health and safety of the applicant or others. 224, temporary employment. Notwithstanding the regular selection and hiring procedures, the general manager or his designee is authorized to use simplified recruitment and hiring procedures as the general manager or his designee deems appropriate in case of temporary, casual, or emergency employment. And that's it. And that replaces a lot of stuff. I
think you're
think
saying
that the whole,
2.2, the vacancy announcement is a really good section, so I would be okay with adding that section and removing 2.1. For the selection and hiring procedures, your proposed 2.2.1, because the district is a public agency, there is a requirement that they announce openings, even if it's just for an hour, even if they know that they want to replace a candidate, put somebody internally in that position.
okay,
So we can't not have an announcement. I know that was a double negative. We are required to announce openings. So that's my only comment on that. And then for temporary employment, again, it's different because the district, and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, for temporary employment, you guys typically use temp agencies. So the announcement proceedings aren't as stringent in those because they go through a temp agency to provide backfill or things like that if need be.
Well, it's not a permanent position.
But Director Parent has a separate section called temporary employment, so I just wanted to address that. And then because the district is a public agency, we are required to maintain an eligibility list. So 2.2.4 as currently written, I recommend that we maintain in the personnel policies just because we need to maintain it as a public agency.
we need eligibility lists?
Yeah.
We're not talking about jobs that we're gonna have 300 applicants for.
Understood, but I'm conservative when it comes to stuff like this.
I don't know if that's a requirement, but if you say so, I mean, you're the expert, not me, but I think that it just seems to me like this whole thing is structured for an organization of like 3,000 people. I mean, just the disqualification, removal of names from eligibility, just all of this is like, it's
So let
really,
me explain to you why we have eligibility lists, even for a district this size, because we've had clients who have employees of 20 or 30, and I know that's much bigger than the district, but they're still not thousands of employees.
right?
But we've had applicants come back and say, you discriminated against me, I don't think Joe should have gotten the job over Helene, because you guys were looking to hire a woman, I wanna see the point structure, I wanna see how I was ranked in the application process. So that's why we have this, to protect the district from things like that may come up in the future, which is why I say I'm conservative when it comes to stuff like this. Because if we have a point system, let's say Kelly's gonna hire a maintenance worker and 10 people apply, but he only has one spot, and you get a begrudging guy who thinks that he's been discriminated against, Kelly can go and say, look, here's the list, here's where he's ranked on the point structure, this is an objective evaluation of the other applicants. So that's why I have that in there.
So all that framework is in use now, currently?
That's, I don't know, that's, I would direct
It's
staff on
supposed to
that.
make it in our policy.
We have the ranking structure in effect, but we've never had the situation where we had extra people.
Banging at the door.
The last time
So it's
we
an
had-
eligibility list of one,
Well, I
the
mean,
person who gets the job.
currently, there's nobody on a list to be hired. The last time we had a group of people apply, they all declined the job because it didn't pay anything.
Because in and out burger pays more.
But, a lot of
They
things
wanted all
that
this
are.
on a paycheck too?
Pardon me?
They wanted all this on a paycheck too?
Yeah, I know, it's silly, right? But a lot of things that we do, a lot of policies we have, doesn't matter if we have one person or 100 people, you have to have the basic policy.
Okay, it's just news to me.
Okay, so have we agreed on some change for this section?
Doesn't sound like it.
Well,
I
I
think
would
some of
suggest-
your ideas were accepted.
I would suggest replacing the current 2.2.1 with director parents 2.2.2.
And what's that gonna be called?
Vacancy announcements.
Oh, so we're adding the word vacancy and some new language.
And then I would.
Elaine, do you have a copy of-
the
Do you have a copy of
body
Director
his
Parents?
suggestion. I'm sorry?
Do you have a copy of Director Parents' ideas?
I do.
Okay,
So actually, let me just do this really fast.
so